Hello folks, I'm Scarp SCS, but that's not important right now as I want to welcome you to the second episode of Cogs, Gears and Optic Sensors, a retrospective look at Transformers comics from across the franchise, and today we take a look at issue number 2 of Marvel Comics Transformers, released in the July of 1984. A full 2 months after the debut issue, and Marvel still not knowing how much of a pop culture icon they had on their hands, clinging to their aspirations of this as a standalone miniseries. I do want to make a quick mention before we move on of the largely finished character models on this cover, particularly when you look at the head sculpt on Bumblebee. I'd be really intrigued to know when this piece of art was completed in relation to the rest of the issue. Straight in, we're presented with a title change to Power Play from last issue's tease of Hey Buddy, Can You Spare Some Fuel, which matches our opening shot of Megatron eyeballing a power plant. Who'd have thought? Only 2 issues in, and we are presented with our first creative team change, with then Spider-Man editor Jim Salicrup taking over scripting duties. We can see mass-shifting cassettes make their debut as Ravish transforms and is clearly modelled on his packaging art to conduct his spy functions after a callback to the previous issue's battle at the drive-in movie theatre. We get some scheming Starscream characterization front and center as he candidly lays out his intentions to the reader to assert Megatron, and I'm sure that'll work out really well for him in the long term. An interesting design choice from the artist in this panel as the Seekers transform into their jet modes. Their weapons also change from the null rays to the cluster bombs. So I do wonder if they were working off this 1984 catalogue as a resource. But continuing with the Seekers, a cheeky reference to Thundercracker's toy bio sneaks its way in the lettering, and it's interesting to see Soundwave absent with the cassettes so prominent. You can also see here that Marvel set their stall out early on the red versus blue debate, although given that the toys seem to form the bulk of their material to draw from at this point, it doesn't really come as a surprise. Which brings us nicely to the cliffhanger ending from our previous issue, when we switch to Bumblebee being examined by the Witwickies, with Sparkplug assuming that he has been pranked by Buster. So given the 8-week release gap between this issue and the first, this exposition page does a great job of bringing any new readers up to speed by recapping the battle in which Bumblebee became injured and highlighting that Buster still thinks that something is off with the little car that he clearly hasn't stolen. But even Sparkplug is slowly coming round. As confident as he is in his own abilities to fix things, even he has to concede that he has never quite seen a vehicle like this one, as the clicking and the clacking starts, and we all know what sound we just made in our heads. Taking us to Bumblebee transforming in front of our 2 startled humans. But what I find really interesting on this panel is our robot hero stating that Bumblebee is only a code name, a concept that would only be revisited in the UK exclusive Man of Iron story, which I hope to cover in a future episode. So with Sparkplug quite happy to allow his teenage son to drive off in an alien robot involved in an intergalactic war, in a phenomenal piece of because plot, Buster, Bumblebee, Jesse, O, and Decepticon Ravage all converge in the same point in the city, allowing Ravage to showcase his gimmick for a second time this issue. And it would, of course, be remiss of me not to mention the in-universe Marvel Comics reference, as everyone's favourite X-Men songstress Dazzler gets a shout-out, courtesy of the radio being played by O. The art design still hasn't been finalised here, and some foreshadowing of the scarcity of fuel is played out on this panel as the Autobots converge on their computer, not quite realising that they are going to be present on Earth for the foreseeable future. And some great nods here to Mirage's toy bio, as he is unsure if his allegiances are in the correct place and maybe even wavering a little on the Autobot cause, but only as a thought bubble, and certainly nothing he's prepared to say out loud. So as Bumblebee manages to make contact with the rest of his group, a huge convoy, no pun intended, of Autobots leave the Ark to meet him, and I really, really want to know what the gradient is on that hill. Just as well these aren't conventional Earth cars. The Decepticons have wasted no time here in utilising what they stole from the nuclear power plant to build this huge fortress on the side of a mountain, making their presence really felt on Earth. Although one can't help but wonder why they didn't use materials to make a nuclear plant of their own, and the answer is obviously because then Megatron wouldn't be able to enact a diabolical scheme to kidnap one of our human heroes, seemingly unfussed that his troops are outnumbered at the garage as he tries to do it. Now, as some more of the unique aspects of the characters and franchise are yet to be ironed out, post-transformation into his robot mode, Prime's trailer is still well and truly visible on Sparkplug's parking lot in the panel as the Seekers home in to attack. It's right there on his bio that Optimus feels his role is the protection of all life, and our human leads are no exception as he orders Bumblebee to shield them as they run for cover. Although given the Autobots turn into cars and the Decepticons are attacking them, maybe a scrapped vehicle wasn't the best hiding place with the benefit of hindsight. We have Sunstreaker and Sideswipe showing almost identical character models here, with the bonnet of the Lambo forming Sunstreaker's chest as opposed to the roof of the vehicle as you would expect, along with the Budiansky penned tech specs being alluded to. And not losing sight of their mission, despite Thundercracker being firmly benched by Sideswipe mid-air, Sparkplug is still on Starscream's mind, and Optimus is well aware of both their scheme and the stakes at play as he reiterates his pledge to keep them safe. I'd have still loved to have seen that transforming trailer used in the story though. Human police officers are clearly no match for giant alien robots, and O displays the most common sense of all the humans thus far by wanting to stay well out of the way of things. Jesse, however, is desperate to be by Buster's side and is not going to let a minor detail like a giant alien robot skirmish playing out in the middle of the street get in her way. As we saw earlier, Mirage is still not convinced if he wants to be a part of this or not, and desperately tries to negotiate with Ravage as a fellow Cybertronian before Brawn well and truly lives up to his name and knocks Ravage all the way to the last page of this issue. Sadly for Bumblebee and the Witwickies though, pride always comes before a fall, and B is quickly decommissioned by Megatron, who seeks his prize in the shape of Sparkplug, with Buster's cries alerting Optimus to their plight. Now, we aren't quite in one shall stand, one shall fall territory, but the cover lives up to its promise, and we get an entire page dedicated to the two rival faction leaders duking it out over Buster's dad. But Starscream, unable to resist the opportunity for a jibe at Megatron, scoops up his prey, and our Decepticon leader, never one to expend energy needlessly, orders a tactical withdrawal of his troops, with Sparkplug firmly secured in the cockpit of Starscream's F-15 alt mode. And it comes to a close here, as our good guys, low on fuel, exhausted from battle, and without immediate access to the energon conversion process, have to admit to Buster that there is nothing they can do to rescue his dad right now, whilst Marvel themselves waste no time in telling the reader that their flagship superhero will be guest starring in the very next issue. So over in the UK, this was delivered in their fortnightly releases across October and November, with a cover on issue number 3 here from returning artist Jerry Paris, depicting Bumblebee in the Witwickies garage, and issue number 4 making good use of the original US cover and promising UK readers the Prime and Megatron showdown that we've just seen. So we've finished Marvel's Transformers number 2. Let me know if you've read it in the comments, and if you like this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. If you didn't like it, leave a like anyway. It'll cost you nothing and help me out. If you want to come over and say hi on social media, you can find me here. So thanks for watching until the end, and above all, stay safe.